Hi everyone, welcome to today's new video. Today we're going to be wrapping up all the books that I read in February, and we're also going to do like a little TBR for March, because in February I didn't read that much. Normally I read around 8 to 10 books. This month was a little less with 6 books, but we're going to wrap them up and then we're going to pick what books you're going to read for March. And I never stick to a TBR, so we'll see. So I have my Goodreads. And we're going to the books of February. So I started off this month with Heroes by Stephen Fry, and I listened to this as an audiobook, and I did Greek in high school for 6 years. So most of these stories were like familiar to me, but still his way of writing these stories is so witty and funny that it's still refreshing and kind of new. And I really liked his writing actually, and I think it was nice that he had so many different stories all in one novel, so you could really get to know different mythologies. And yeah, it was a very solid read. I think I rated it 4 stars, which is really good, especially for an audiobook, because sometimes I have a difficulty to kind of connect to the book when I'm just listening to it and not reading it. But this book was really solid, so 4 stars. After that, it was, I think, already almost Valentine's Day, so I read these 2 little Valentine's Day novellas, which were part of the Improbable Meet Cutes, I think. Yeah, so those are all different kind of novellas, all written not on Valentine's Day, but they take place on Valentine's Day, and they're written by all kind of different romance authors. So Christina Lauren, Abby Jimenez, I think Sally Thorne, and a couple of other people. They all wrote a little novella, and they're so cute. I rated The Exception to the Rule, so the one by Christina Lauren, 5 stars, which is crazy. I've never rated a novella that high. Normally I don't like novellas, but this one was so good. I also read Worst Wingman Ever, and that was so cute, but it did have a lot of grief in it as well, which wasn't really Valentine's-y, I guess, but I still rated it 4 stars because it was a good book. Then I went to Cinder, and I've been procrastinating reading this book for so long. I think it has been on my TBR for 2+ years, and I've never touched it before, but it was so amazing. And I think I rated like 4.5 stars, but the story is just, it's like complex, but not in a way that makes you wonder what the hell is going on. Like, you know what's going on, but the story has so many aspects and so many little plot twists, and the plot line is amazing. And I really liked our main character, weirdly enough, because this story is about a cyborg, and it's kind of like a Cinderella retelling, but completely different. So I definitely recommend you reading that book. It's so good. After that, I read Legends and Lattes, and I was planning on buddy reading this with someone, and we kind of were, but also I finished it way earlier because this book has the most cozy vibes ever. I don't think it'll ever be a favorite of mine, but it was so cozy. I loved just the vibes of it, but it was all vibes and no plot, which for me isn't enough to really like a book. But if you do really like cozy fantasies, or you just like vibes instead of heavy fantasy plot lines, this book is definitely for you, because it's about, I think, an orc, and she opens up this cafe and she's expanding her menu, and it's just so wholesome, and I loved it, but not enough to give it any higher than 3.5 stars. And then I read the last book of the month, which was Twisted Games by Anna Huang, and I absolutely hated Twisted Love because it was so cheesy. The story was just weird. I still don't know why that was published, honestly. But Twisted Games was good. I rated it 4.5 stars because there was so much spice and I like a little bit of it, but this was just a lot. But it was so good. The whole forbidden romance, princess versus bodyguard, it was just such a good book. The characters were amazing. I loved Bridget, Reese as well, obviously, but those characters just had chemistry and they really, really fit together. And that's what I love in a good romance novel. It was a bit long. I don't know why it was 500 pages, but I didn't mind. Like, I was going through that really, really fast, so I didn't even notice that it was that long. But it was really good and I loved it. And I'm so glad that I read Twisted Games because now I actually want to continue the series without like stopping at Twisted Love because that was horrible. But that's already all the books that I read this month. So we're going to my March TBR. So if you have been following me for a little longer now, you know I never stick to my TBR. Ever. Maybe I read one or two from my TBR, but usually I just don't because I don't know, I'm a mood reader. And normally I pick up books that I think I should read, but then I get into a completely different mood and I won't read them. So I'm gonna do my best to actually do a realistic TBR this time. So starting off, I really want to finish Bride because I've already started it, but I really want to finish it next month because it has been taking me such a long time, but in the most positive way possible because I've been loving this book. But that's also why I just read it so slowly because I don't want it to be over. You know what I mean? But I really want to finish Bride this month and I think that should be possible. I also want to read Butcher and Blackbird because the serial killer aspect of this book sounds so interesting, and I absolutely love the Mindfuck series, which is also kind of like a serial killer romance, and I've heard so many positive things about Butcher and Blackbird. So in March I definitely want to read this one. Then the next book I really want to read in March is The Wolf Den, and it's by Elodie Harper. Before this I never saw this anywhere, but now I have this subscription to like audiobooks and I saw this on there and it sounded so interesting, so I definitely want to get to that one as an audiobook probably this month. And I think it's about this girl who was kind of like a slave or prostitute in Pompeii? No clue how to pronounce that, but that's a bit of her story and it sounds so interesting, so I really want to read that one. And the last book I really want to read this month is Daisy Hates because I've also been procrastinating reading this because I loved Magnolia Parks so much that I don't want to switch to another character. And I also didn't like Christian, and I know this book is about Daisy and Christian, so it's gonna be a challenge. I don't want to get to it honestly, but I have heard so many great things about the series and I really want to continue to Magnolia's books, and I heard that you can't skip Daisy's books, but I need to get to it and we're going to. So thank you so much for watching. If any of these books are on your TBR or you've read them, let me know. I would love to hear your opinions about them, and hopefully I'll see you at more videos next month. Bye bye!